That is the theme to Elf. And yes, here on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network, we're going to start with a bit of a holiday feel because over the weekend in the USA Today, by the way, welcome inside once again to the Alex Garrett Podcast Network. I'm going to drop a couple links today for you because it is Giving Tuesday as well. And how about this? How about this for Giving Tuesday? Over the weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, the USA Today weekend had this big headline, calling all elves. The 111-year-old Operation Santa, that's right, program is now 111 years old, which handles letters addressed to Santa at the North Pole to brighten kids across the country, their holiday season and give them a bit of hope as their holiday wishes are being heard and even fulfilled. But here's the thing about Operation Santa. They're looking for helpers to open hearts and adopt North Pole letters. The U.S. Postal Service, according to USA Today Weekend and Susan Miller, opened its annual Operation Santa letter adoptions on November 20th, before Black Friday and the earliest kickoff to date. Now, the Postal Service is in search of elves who can make visions of sugar plums dance into reality for those facing a strapped winter. So yes, in the spirit of the holiday season, of the Christmas season, and of the arrival of Santa, I think it's pretty interesting to point out that Operation Santa, which is a seasonal tradition, a Christmas tradition, needs your help. And I wanted to point that out to you here on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network, because how awesome would it be to, I'm unfolding a newspaper in 2023, to make a kid's day and a kid's Christmas season. I think it'd be pretty cool. Here's what people have told USA Today. Senior Public Relations Representative Sue Brennan told USA Today. She said this program is unlike anything else in the Postal Service in every aspect. Employees who get involved are in awe of the program's history and the sheer joy it brings so many. Santa letters must include the writer's and first and last name, a complete return address, including street, apartment, number, city, state, and zip code. People can adopt the letters through the online channel at USPSOperationSanta.com and create an account and make sure ID is verified. All adoptions are digital. Each registered person can adopt up to 15 letters. So we, as adults, can maybe bring back that kid's spirit by helping those in need this Christmas and become an elf for Santa, for Operation Santa. All letters must be postmarked by December 11th. The letters are opened at Santa's mailroom, personal information is redacted, and the letters are uploaded onto the Postal Service website. Some of the most heart-melting words come from those looking out for family members. Brennan said, "These letters make me cry. The writers requesting gifts for others are selfless and beautiful." One letter wrote, "My name is Elizabeth. Dear Santa, my name is Elizabeth. I am a single mom. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters, and 1 son. This year has been hard on us. My 4-year-old was diagnosed with leukemia and is staying at Children's Hospital doing chemo. This would help a lot. One writer is Jacqueline in the 6th grade. Please make a Christmas miracle and make Nana better." So those are just a few examples of why USPS Operation Santa must go on this Giving Tuesday and every season and every Christmas season, because kids are writing, people are writing, adults are writing to bring hope into their lives. And I think it'd be awesome if people listen to this podcast and signed up and adopted these letters. And you can find more in the information below in this description. Also, this Giving Tuesday, I'm going to drop a link as to why you should help out the Viscardi Center, the Henry Viscardi Center. You'll hear from Dr. Chris Rosa, the current president of Viscardi, Dr. Henry Viscardi, the founder, the man behind it all. You'll hear his words as to why he created this center in the 1950s, after World War II. And then you have from Joe Salonica, who of course runs wheelchair basketball and adaptive sports and is a big part of the games for the physically challenged. You'll hear his story below. And then I'll drop the link as to where you can donate this Giving Tuesday. And those is an opportunity to make kids with disabilities and young adults with disabilities have a chance, have a fighting chance, be enabled to live a filling life. And God bless that. And then this other story on my mind, because of this Christmas season, it's a holiday season, but it's also the month of the 60th anniversary of the tragedy that was the assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. And to me, what he said and what I found before the American Newspapers Publishers Association is kind of crazy considering all the conspiracies surrounding his assassination. Listen to what JFK, in his own words, said about telling the truth.
Of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
And how about that? You go and then you watch the documentary featuring the Parkland doctors. And my goodness, looks like there was a lot of covering up. There was a lot of disinformation by our own government surrounding the Kennedy assassination. So not only did they dishonor President Kennedy, but they dishonored his wishes. And I often find that maybe perhaps there is a bit of a karma on this government. That assassination is why nothing can get done today. That's a 60-year lingering effect, ladies and gentlemen, on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network. I said it, a 60-year lingering effect. Because the only stuff that's gotten done, it feels like, since the assassination, was it got us into wars. But if you watch and read Jeff Greenfield's column, If JFK Had Lived, it's a whole book in the Politico magazine, the history department. Would JFK have lost had he lived? By Jeff Greenfield, author of If He Lived. Here's what Mr. Greenfield surmises here. He says that JFK would not have escalated the war in Vietnam. As a candidate, Kennedy proposed aggressive tactics in Vietnam, effectively overseeing the birth of the Green Berets and putting advisors in South Vietnam but he also had skepticism about involvement in the region years back. He rejected the advice of his Joint Chiefs, according to Mr. Greenfield and former President Dwight Eisenhower, to engage in military action in Laos. He resisted the urging of his military chiefs during the Cuban Missile Crisis to bomb the missile sites. He would reply to advisors urging greater involvement in Vietnam by telling them that if they could get Douglas MacArthur to approve, the idea of a land war in Asia, he might agree. November 21st, 1963, he told aide Mike Forstrell, as he was leaving for Texas, to organize a top-to-bottom review of every option we've got, including how we get out of there. He did not want to be there. Despite putting advisors there, he did not want to be there. The political impact of leaving Vietnam would have been serious, adds Jeff Greenfield, with Republicans and hawkish Democrats accusing him of appeasement. But that is answer number one. He did not want to escalate the war. Did not want to escalate the war. But isn't it funny that after he is shot and killed and assassinated, boom, escalation in war happens? That doesn't feel like an accident. And I believe that the assassination of JFK has left a huge karma on this country. That it's going to take a hero to overcome that. Interestingly enough, Jeff Greenfield also says the 1960s would have been a lot less angry. Assuming Kennedy did not escalate in Vietnam, the tenor of the times might have well been different had he not been assassinated. Left-wing students for Democratic Society began as a relatively reformist, not radical movement. Without Vietnam, the descent of SDS into competing factions of delusions, Maoist versus Weatherman, would not have happened. I really want to get this book, If Kennedy Lived, by Jeff Greenfield, because it's fascinating stuff. The one other most likely that would have happened is that JFK's private life would have become public, Greenfield predicted. We all know Kennedy ran around with different women, and it was hard for Jackie and Jackie O and whatnot, but it stayed relatively private. The media began to look hard at the president's behavior in the last months of Kennedy's life. As far as October of 1963, Clark Molinoff of the Des Moines Register said the evidence is likely to include identification of several high executive branch officials involved with Ellen Romage, a frequent White House visitor. J. Edgar Hoover knew about Kennedy's philandering. And it's possible that, there could have been leaks if JFK was around for the 1964 election by Hoover himself. By Hoover himself. What would that sound like? Comey writing memos, leaking it to the press? Hello? He also, it sounds like he's pointing out that FBI directors have been disgruntled every so often to the point of leaking or possible leaks if Kennedy was alive. But here's the most interesting part of the story. It's possible the Kennedys could have used the power of the office to keep all the rumors under wraps. There was, after all, no social media, no Drudge to bring the story into public attention outside the traditional press, with plenty of tools of intimidation, which his father, Joe Kennedy, was great at, by the way. Oh, by the way. He finishes off this little bit excerpt. The best we can offer is that had Kennedy lived, there were a multitude of people with the knowledge, the means, the desire, and the opportunity to finish Kennedy politically. And then his place in history would have been radically different. Had Kennedy lived, affairs or not, I think we would have been prosperous. I think we would have been peaceful. I think we would not have gone anywhere to the level of Vietnam that we went to. That would have changed the course of American history. I'm only 32 years old, but I know how bad it got. I know how bad it got because when I thanked the Vietnam vet for his service, he's like, don't thank me for killing innocents. That's the mindset of the Vietnam War vets. And that's a problem. That's a problem. The other interesting note here, I would say, was that in 1963, at the time of the assassination, unemployment was at 5% declining. Inflation rate, 1.2%. Real economic growth, 4.4%. And the year's budget predicted a modest surplus of $500 million at that time. If Kennedy had lived, Jeff Greenfield, doctors of Parkland that saw everything right there, and the disasters following, of just even the way it looks like they marked up his body so it looked like part of the head wasn't missing, as part of the brain wasn't missing, but it was. The day JFK went splat is the day America's karma fell flat and really decreased. And to this day, that karma is felt. That anti-American sentiment that was felt in the 1960s is still felt today. Just by burning our biggest ally's flag of Israel, you are saying you are being anti-American as well. But if they did not kill Kennedy, if Kennedy was not shot and here to at least try, to do things during his presidency, we would all have a different course. Or maybe that assassination had to happen so that we could be talking about this together on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network. But I do think the Kennedy assassination was a hit to the karma of America that, and I'm usually an optimist, we may never recover from. But we collectively, who love America to this day, can band together and aspire to carry on that legacy that JFK left us and was tragically cut short from completing on November 22nd, 1963.